After the release of Cartethyia, it's fair to expect for quite a few players to be currently saving and looking forward to the release of Lupa. However, that might now not be the case since the characters for the next version update have officially been revealed, and for the first time in a while, there will in fact be only one limited 5-star character. The highly anticipated Phrolova will be making her debut as a playable character in version 2.5 and is certainly going to be incredible overall, considering she has been hyped since the launch of the game, so Kuro will likely want to capitalize on that. Although, with Lupa still on the way and without a doubt is going to be a fantastic character herself, and especially for the fusion composition, it will definitely be a bit difficult to decide which of these characters you may want to prioritize over the other. Of course, having both would be great, but if you simply aren't able to afford it or just need one more DPS character for your account, I'll be going over the kit standouts for both Phrolova and Lupa, the sort of team versatility each character will hold, then I'll be wrapping it up with the overall value and who would benefit your account in particular the most. As always, if you're interested in more WutheringWaves content, would very much appreciate it if you could subscribe and drop a like if you enjoyed the video. It has been a long time coming, but we do finally know Phrolova will be a playable character quite soon, and alongside that, really to no surprise, she has been confirmed to be a Havoc Rectifier character. Of course, with the release of Cantarella, we were able to assume Phrolova would be Havoc attribute and will be able to deal significant resonant skill damage, given there is currently no limited 5-star character able to fully utilize Cantarella's outro skill. So with that, it's fair to expect for Phrolova to be a top tier damage dealer on release, since not only is she releasing after characters such as Cartethyia and Lupa, but also since she will have a best in slot sub DPS available immediately to amplify her damage. Now, whether Phrolova is going to be a main DPS or sub DPS is yet to be confirmed, given they could go down the fusion route and set Cantarella to be the support of the team whilst providing buffs to Phrolova, alongside Phrolova providing buffs through her outro skill to the next Havoc DPS to release. So there is quite a bit of potential within Phrolova's kit, as she could very well be either a main DPS or sub DPS. But as of now, and at the very least, we can expect for her to deal significant amounts of damage when alongside Cantarella. In addition to that, with being a rectifier character, it does mean she will likely be quite easy to utilize, considering she will have a bit of range between herself and enemies to reduce the chances of receiving damage, along with having more time to react. So unlike Zani, which is quite up close dealing lots of damage whilst taking damage herself, for the most part, Phrolova should be a bit more similar to Carlotta in terms of ease of use. Lastly, given her incredible synergy with Cantarella, alongside the fact we know Phrolova lore-wise does have the ability to control echoes, it is fair to expect for Phrolova to have a few abilities within her kit linked to utilizing echoes other than just the standard echo skill. So whether that means she can enhance echo skill damage for herself and Cantarella's abilities, or perhaps would be able to use multiple echo skills within a short window, alongside potentially dealing coordinated attack damage as it is hinted by the Hecate Echoes passive. Either way, Phrolova will certainly be a unique DPS with incredible damage potential. Now, in regards to team versatility, without a doubt Phrolova will synergize with Cantarella more than any other character, considering Cantarella was literally made to amplify her damage in specific, but also with the fact Cantarella can heal, deal coordinated attacks, slows down enemies to provide even more comfort whilst in combat alongside dealing considerable damage, she will definitely be a stacked sub DPS with incredible utility alongside being able to amplify Phrolova's damage. So given quite a lot of players likely did pick up Cantarella back in version 2.2, they would in particular be much more inclined to pick up Phrolova in order to utilize Cantarella at max potential. On the other hand, if you did decide to skip Cantarella, it is near enough guaranteed that she will return in the next version update on her rerun banner, which will provide players with the opportunity to pick up both characters to use at their very best. However, if you simply can't afford to pick up Cantarella or would just prefer to skip the rerun, there would be a few premium alternative options ranging from Brant, Zheji, and Roccia. Brant and Zheji in specific would be able to amplify resonant skill damage just like Cantarella, alongside of course each providing additional value such as more sustainability, coordinated attacks, and even additional resonance energy. With Roccia in specific, she would be able to amplify havoc damage via the outro skill, but will also be able to crowd control enemies incredibly well and deal considerable damage. Now aside from the premium options, you do have alternatives such as Dan Jin, Lumi, and Tao Chi, which are significantly worse than the premium alternatives but will at least be able to amplify Phrolova's damage. Now it's also fair to mention that since Phrolova does have potential to be a sub DPS, which means she would be able to amplify havoc damage and another type of damage herself, it would allow for havoc characters such as Camellia and Havoc Rover to synergize well as they utilize Phrolova's outro skill. But again, that will depend on whether Phrolova is designed to be a sub DPS. All in all, it's safe to say Phrolova will have some solid versatility as a Havoc DPS, especially since her kit doesn't revolve around debuffs like Cartethyia's and Zani's, which allows her to synergize very well with many characters that simply amplify resonant skill damage or Havoc damage. Now as for the newest Queen of Fusion releasing very soon, since I have already uploaded a full guide on Lupa as of recent, I'll avoid going into too much detail and will link the video in the description if you would like to check it out. Essentially, Lupa is a fusion sub DPS and support in one, given she is able to deal considerable damage through the liberation and enhanced resonant skills, increases fusion damage bonus and attack for all allies, reduces fusion resistance on enemies, deals solid damage off field, provides allies with the auto dodge ability, and last but not least, amplifies basic attack damage and fusion damage through the outro skill. All of that alongside the fact that she does have amazing looking animations and fun combat since she can deal mid-air attacks similar to Brant. Despite releasing right after Cartethyia, it seems like Lupa does hold enough value for many players to consider picking up. However, it's fair to mention that the fusion and attack buffs she provides along with the fusion resistance shred do scale off the amount of fusion characters that are on the team, with there being quite a large difference between having a mono fusion composition and having no other fusion character alongside Lupa. So ideally, you would pair Lupa with other fusion characters to maximize the effects of her buffs, which does of course impact the versatility she holds to synergize with other characters. Although, even without maximizing the buffs provided from Lupa's kit, she should still be capable of dealing a considerable amount of fusion damage to clear all content. Also, if you currently don't have any limited fusion characters to pair alongside Lupa, there will of course be many more that release later down the line and would benefit massively from Lupa's kit. Now speaking of characters that will synergize with Lupa, it goes without saying that the best monofusion composition will consist of Lupa, Changli, and Brant, and not only since they're all fusion characters, but also since their outro skills are tailor-made for this specific composition, considering Brant would amplify Changli's fusion and resonant skill damage, whilst Changli amplifies Lupa's fusion and liberation damage, and then for Lupa to amplify Brant's fusion and basic attack damage. In addition to that, all three characters are burst damage dealers and so wouldn't take up much field time, allowing for this team to be the best burst damage dealing composition, alongside ensuring buffs from Lupa's kit don't go over the time limit. Lastly, with the fact that Brant and Lupa together provide immense support, it does enable the team to be quite comfortable to play with despite a dedicated healer being absent. So if you do have Changli and Brant on your account, Lupa will certainly be an incredible addition as she will be capable of dealing insane damage and enhancing their damage at the same time. However, if you are missing either Changli or Brant, there are some alternative DPS characters such as Encore, Chixia, and Mortifi, which all can ensure Lupa's buffs are fully utilized alongside each of them dealing much more damage from those buffs. As for the support position in specific, the Shorekeeper and Verena would of course be viable options to replace Brant and will ensure the team still deals great levels of damage to clear all content. Lastly, there are basic attack damage dealers such as Cartethyia and Camellia that can utilize the basic attack damage amplification Lupa provides. But of course, it would be advised to just stick with as many fusion characters as possible to maximize Lupa's buffs. So it is obvious to see that despite being kinda restricted to the fusion team, Lupa still has solid versatility, and as mentioned earlier, there will always be more fusion characters that release and would synergize incredibly well with Lupa simply due to being fusion. Overall, both Phrolova and Lupa are certainly going to be amazing DPS characters that hold a ton of value, especially with the fact that Lupa can be considered as a DPS and support in one. It means she will be able to deal incredible burst damage and provide great utility to the team. As mentioned, there is a chance that Phrolova ends up being a sub-DPS as well, but at the very least she will be capable of dealing considerable damage. Now, picking between them will be quite simple, since if you do have characters such as Brant and Changli already on your account, then Lupa will definitely hold the most priority since she will complete the monofusion composition. On the other hand, if you don't have Changli and Brant but do have Cantarella from her initial release, then Phrolova may hold more priority since you would be able to finally utilize Cantarella's kit and max potential, along with of course providing extremely valuable buffs to Phrolova. So pretty much it is dependent on the characters you do currently have on your account. But now excluding that factor, and as for the characters themselves, even though Phrolova isn't exactly tied to the Havoc composition as much as Lupa is tied to fusion, the fact that she might have abilities that scale off echo skill damage or coordinated attack damage means she will be a bit more difficult to build than others, which also means she will be more reliant on her signature weapon to acquire valuable stat bonuses. Whereas with Lupa being a liberation damage dealer but can also utilize heavy attack damage and resonant skill damage through her abilities, it does mean it will be a bit more easier to build Lupa herself. Of course, it is a bit early to exactly determine Phrolova's overall value since she could in fact be much easier to build than expected. But as of now, Lupa's long-term value as a fusion DPS and support, alongside everything else, really allows her to hold immense value over other DPS characters. For those that are still uncertain, you can obviously wait till we are closer to Phrolova's release once Lupa's banner is still up, since then we would have a clearer picture on where Phrolova stands overall. But either way, both characters once again will hold great value for your account, and as mentioned earlier, both would be amazing to have, but the character to prioritize will be dependent on the characters you do currently have and do utilize the most. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe for more WutheringWaves content, and if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. Also drop a comment down below on who are you looking forward to the most and are likely picking up between Phrolova and Lupa. And yeah, hope to catch you guys later.